Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, Dr. Haider Shah. On behalf of Kalwas, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we have another very interesting topic, and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speaker who is going to talk about writing skills for exam. There is no better feeling than walking into the exam hall with the confidence and being able to tackle an exam with a calm and rational posture. And yes, you can learn it, how to attempt the question paper, how to write well, what is the appropriate way of doing it. Indeed, you will get the best insights and right recommendation from our expert because we have a wonderful guest with us in today's this session. So stay tuned because an amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank Kalwas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing us such a wonderful platform. The aim of Kalwas is to give you the opportunity to connect and interact with world-renowned speakers, academic leaders, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to learn from their experiences, recommendations, and suggestions, which will create an impact and will enable you to learn and develop yourself in order to grow and transform individually, as well as to contribute to the world in a positive way. As our slogan is come, learn, and share knowledge. So today we have an amazing person as guest. We have invited him again because of lots of requests to arrange another session with him because previously he did a wonderful session with us, and he has joined us. So let me just give you the introduction for the people who are joining for the first time. He is an internationally known personality, a multi-dynamic person having vast experience and exposure, a great human being always ready to share his knowledge and contributing to the world on different platforms. So let me introduce him formally. He is a director of International Language Center of a Gift University, Pakistan. He has done PhD in English literature with specialization in drama and theater from the University Putra, Malaysia. As an assistant professor in Department of English, he also teaches and celebrates both modern and classical drama and takes keen interest in South Asia literature written in English. His PhD dissertation is on Ajoka theater adaptation of bracket selected work in Pakistan. On weekends, you can easily find him on the premises of Ajoka Theatre Learning, creating and watching plays. He advocates the use of drama and theatre in the language teaching. Moreover, he actively participates in film and TV production. He has directed several documentaries and short films for film festivals around the world. He has also received the Best International Student Award from Mercer College, USA for undergraduate program. His next writing project is a book titled Ajoka Bracket and the Critique of the Society. He has participated in many international and national conferences to highlight the issues regarding migration, dictatorship, and adaptation of Western literature in Pakistan. In addition to that, he has been involved with the drama and theater education for over 10 years as a playwright, workshop instructor, resource writer, curriculum supervisor, professional development creator, and keynote speaker. He is author and director of play No Exit Likely to be Performed in Australia. So, last but not the least, he's a wonderful speaker, author, teacher, professional, and above everything, a great human being. So, please help me in welcoming our guest, Dr. TAIMUR KAYANI. Welcome to Kalwas platform again, and thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. So nice of you. I mean, for this wonderful opportunity, I thank you and your channel for this extraordinary opportunity to talk
Thank
on
you so
writing
much.
skills for exams.
Yeah. Really, very interesting session it was with you yesterday, and people loved it and they enjoyed it a lot and they learned a lot from that session. And I hope
Thank you.
this session is going to be the extension of that session, and we are looking forward to this wonderful session again. So,
Thank
can
you.
you share your slides, please? Thank you.
Sure.
So, as a reminder to the audience that Dr. Taimur Kiani will be presenting, and he will leave time for question answer session at the end of the session. If you have any question, you can write in comment section or you can email us at info@of.com. If you have any other suggestion, you can also write to us, and we will be looking at that request, and we will try to manage all the things accordingly. And this time, I was just talking to Dr. Taimur Kiani that the people have sent a wonderful questions to us in advance. The people who will miss it because of certain reasons, so they will later on watch on the YouTube. Uh, Thank you very much for supporting us and sending us such a wonderful questions. Because I believe the writing skills is very essential part, and most of the students, they get nervous and they have a lot of theories in their mind how to write well, because sometimes we listen to the different students that they say we don't know the structure or the ingredients of how to attempt the question properly, or how to identify the different things in that. So Dr. Taimur Kiani is expert in that perspective, and he would share his own tips and the way he succeeded, and still he is playing with the words and enjoying the luxury of being called as an expert in this field. That's the wonderful thing about him. So he will be giving a wonderful recommendation to you all to learn from his personal experiences, and how he has achieved such a wonderful position in life while writing so wonderful plays, so wonderful words. So I think it has been uploaded. So over to you, Dr. Taimur Kiani. Thank you.
Thank you again. First of all, Dr. Haider Shah, being when I was a student, I always worried about the exams. This is the common thing among all of us, and there's always a stress. There was always a panic. There was always nervousness. So my first thing is that, because first thing was that, to remove uh, that panicness and that problems and the stress level, to reduce the stress level of our student, and how we can do it. See, the problem is that we always think, whenever we think of writing, we always think of a myth that writing is a art. It's based on, a journey, and it's that kind of, romantic words for writing. But right now, I would like to discuss it as a science. And when you think about science, you always think about a model. And whenever you think of a model, it always reduces the stress, because it seems that there is some systematic way of handling certain things. So today, my main goal is to come up with a model and show you the things which can help you out in getting a A grade. Another issue is that, usually from an examiner, you always this thing ask that, what's the difference between A grade and a B and a C. So what I'm giving you a formula for getting an A grade in all exams, assignments, and all those things. So let me move on, and let me cite the main theme of our lecture today, which is how to attempt an essay question or assignment. Now, if we move on, we think about a question. Whenever we think about a question, there's certain parts of that question. So there's certain language of that question. And before going through that question, let me briefly tell you that what I will discuss in this lecture. First of all, I'll discuss the thesis statement. Second, my strategy, which is divide the answer into paragraph. Then focus on one idea in each paragraph. Then provide evidences and examples. Use the keywords of the question in your answer. And finally, always draw a conclusion at the end. So what I'm discussing today, Dr. Haider Shah, is the structure, is the formula, is the vision, is the way that whenever your examiner check your answer, he will say, well, you get an A. This is a because you earn grade. You don't get a grade. You earn a grade. So in order to earn a grade, you have to find out that your answer should have all these things. Now let me discuss each of these things here. First of all, what is a writing exam? The writing exam is a test or written examination, is a technique. So first of all, you see that it's a technique. Technique to what? To assess students' knowledge, skills, or abilities. So they are checking two things out of you. Number one is your knowledge, and the second one is skill. Now, what kind of skill? Skill is to structure that knowledge. So the main thing is that you have a knowledge, but you should know that how to present that knowledge. Now, in the exam, usually students say that they say, well, Dr. Saab, I go for exam, and I tried my level best, but usually in the exam I forget things. Now, why you forget things is because you don't have a structure. And they also ask me a question, is that how we should prepare for that exam, how we will plan it a week before, what will be our last week preparation. So my answer is that first of all, let's go through the structure, and you will understand understand that in order to follow that structure, you need a 1 week preparation. Now let's move on. I already explained you the first of all, the the most important thing is that uh, let me clear my vision for you so you can hear me without any problem. So first of all is that read the question 3 times. Now why I say that? Because you are in a panic situation, you are full of stress, and when you read the question 3 times, what will happen? It will calm you down. You will understand that and what you search in the question, I will discuss it later. But let me first of all read the question 3 times. It happened to me when I was very young. I used to miss the certain part of the question, because usually a question has at least 1 to 2 parts, you know. And when there are 2 parts in that, usually what you do, you address the first part, and then you forget about the second part. So first of all, read the question 3 times. Why I say that? Because let me go through it. Circle and underline the keywords of the question. Why you read it 3 times? Because when you read it 3 times, what you do is you will underline the keywords. For example, it says that describe the function of a cell, or it says that define the market segmentation and explain it through examples. Now, first of all, you say, well, describe, because there's a difference, my friends, between describe and discuss. There's a difference between illustrate and elaborate. See, the main thing is that you circle the function of the question, because every question has a boundary. Every question has a boundary. So if every question has a boundary, it means that your answer should have a boundary also. So what you do is that first of all, you circle and underline the keywords of the question. Now, what you have a question paper, and before starting it, you have read it 3 times. You circle it, the keywords, and also underline the function of the question. Like either you have to describe it, you have to discuss it, you have to elaborate it, you have to illustrate it, you have to enlist it. See that? So now you understand. After reading 3 times, you now understand the question. The circle also and the underline also define the boundary of the question. I'll give you examples later on. Now, the first thing is that now you have to start the answer. Now, what you do is in the first paragraph, because you have to divide your answer into paragraphs. Never write a long answer and long answer with no paragraph. This is the biggest mistake students do, because it means that they have vomit the answer. Instead of coming up with a clear cut direction, they just vomit it. Now, why for example, let me say that. Let me give you an example. Why their thesis statement, that one line that summarizes your answer, is so important, and why you should divide your answer into paragraphs. For example, let me say that I teach at KIF University, and it's in Gujranwala, and they're fond of food and all that kind of stuff. So I reached there from Lahore, and I met with one of my students, and he said, "Dr. Saab, I would like to present you a cup of coffee with a chocolate cake." I said, "Okay, let me have it," you know, and I enjoyed that. And later on, I met with my colleague, and he said, "Why not take a breakfast and let's have a great breakfast?" And I have halwa puri with him, and really enjoy that. Then I went for a class and came back again, and then again what happened? One of my another student came, and he said, "Dr. Saab, what we'll do is we'll have a biryani." And I say, "Okay, let me have a biryani." And at 4 o'clock, after taking the tea, then what happened to my stomach is like, I was like in big trouble. And then what I did is that I vomit. When I vomited, one of my students came, and he said, "Dr. Saab, what happened is I really want my cake back. It was given by my mom, and I would like to get it back." Now what I do is there is a vomit, you know. So same thing happened. Now another one, my colleague came. I said, "Oh, okay, Dr. Saab, I need rice from the your biryani, because you keep the chicken, but I would like to have a rice." Now what I did? Now what I supposed to do? So that's what I call it, vomit writing. So the first thing is that when you divide your answer in paragraphs, it means that you have a certain thing placed right there, and you can take anything out. Whenever examiner asks you that where your answer lies, you say, "Okay, sir, it's right there," because the reason is that you have located your answer, you have structured your answer. Now the first thing is thesis statement, friends. If there is no thesis statement, it means that there is no answer, period. In the first paragraph, we have to address the question. In order to address the question, we need a sentence. That sentence should contain three things. Number one, topic. Number two, evidences. Number three, limitations. So again, the first one is topic, which when you underline the question, you know from there that this is the topic. When it comes to evidence, it means that what kind of evidence you are presenting. What's the main reason you say that this is your answer, this is your stand, this is your argument. Because usually academic questions always have they need that certain argument to be presented in them, in the answer. Now you need evidences. And the third one is limitation, because every question has a boundary, therefore answer should have a boundary. Now let me move on to an example. For example, there is a question on a sociology paper. The paper says that co-education is beneficial or detrimental. Justify this statement with your examples. So it means that the topic is what is co-education, and what's your stand is. For example, my stand is co-education is highly beneficial. Now, what are my evidences are? I say, and what are my limitations are? Now, let me explain it through one sentence. I say co-education is highly beneficial because it fosters keen interest, uh, keen interest, knowledge, and competition among the university students. Now, when I say see these three things, when I say keen interest, competition, knowledge, what it means by these are my evidences for my topic sentence. And then what is the limitation? Limitation is among the university student. So maybe co-education is not beneficial for school, maybe for the college students, but it's highly beneficial for what? For university student. So when I say university student, it means it's the boundary. So either you're solving case study, or you're writing an essay on certain things, or you're coming up with sociology, psychology paper, or an English language or literature paper. Your limitation is defined by the question. So in one sentence, what I did is that I summarized my answer. So whenever an examiner reads your paper, whenever the examiner reads your paper, he would say, well, okay, there is my answer. And without checking your grammar and all other things, within a minute or so, he will understand that you're good with the argument. So you know the structure. So the secret of my success, or my all of my colleague, whether Dr. Haider Shah will say that, that in every thesis, even his in doctoral thesis, the most important thing is that where was his thesis statement. Now, after thesis statement, the other thing which is very important is that the language, the vocabulary part of it. Now, I always talk about Dr. Shah is that there's always 100 words in each subject, which are very significant. For example, for a business school, we should come up with in every course there should be 100 words, and the student should know all these words, and they know how to explain those words. So first of all, whenever if you're reading, let's say, marketing course, principles of marketing, what you do is you find out that 100 keywords in that course, and remember them, their spellings, their real meanings, and everything, because from there it will be very easy for you to use the correct language. You don't have to memorize things. All you have to do is to understand the meaning, the words, and other stuff. Now, my basic trick is that whenever I read a question, when I underline it, I at that very moment I understand that this is the language of the question. So my answer should use the same language. So if when the examiner says that, or your teacher or your professor says that it's not relevant, he says that because he or she says that because the reason is that you are not using the language of the question. So your answer should use the language of the question. The trick is that even in daily life, in Viva, in all other things, listen carefully of the language of the examiner and use the same thing, and use the same language, and all of a sudden you would realize that there is a spark in that person's eyes, because it seems that you're relevant. You have done the right thing. Now, the second paragraph should link the first paragraph. It should come up with the first evidence. For example, in the co-education, it should deal with the first evidence, which is what? Keen interest, right? So what you do is that in the second paragraph, you talk about the only one idea, which is what? The second paragraph. Now, in the second paragraph, after talking about the basic content, the knowledge section, remember the knowledge we discussed this before, that every question assesses you. Now, the specific and general examples. See, specific examples are those who you read in your book, and you can cite them. And the general examples are just from your own experiences, and you come up with that. So let's say if it's a difficult question and you cannot find a specific example, then cite the general examples. So there is always a, see, with this structure, it means that whenever you have a structure, it means that whatever question comes, you come up with a idea, because you cannot miss the question. Otherwise, you will lose the whole marks. But if you structure it well, what happens? The examiner will think that you have a different perspective. You see that? It's just, I mean, writing in a structure, it means that for exam is that, and these words are from the examiner, myself. I'm an examiner. I mean, at different levels. I'm an examiner for CSS program, PMS program. So it's same principle goes with the CSS and PMS. Now, if you move on with that, the key idea. Remember my vomiting, the picture I painted before. One paragraph is equal to one idea. This is the Bible for the writing skills. One idea is equal to one paragraph. Now, one paragraph means is that I will draw a boundary. Boundary from where? From the evidence. And I'll give the specific and general example on the same idea. Now, if you see that my one paragraph should be at least 6 to 8 lines. My sentences should be around 9 to 14 words. So whenever I write more than 14 words in a sentence, what they happen? They become very complex. And there is a chances of for inaccurate grammatical and other mistakes. So if I put between 9 to 14 words, I keep the structure right. I'm not saying here, friends, I'm not saying that do not use complex sentences. But my suggestion is to use it, because you need a good grammatical range. Because sometimes grammatical range is more important than the accuracy. But what I'm saying is that practice it then. Try to stop after 14 words and come up with another sentence. Now, every paragraph should also contain a topic sentence. See that thesis statement, it's all about the whole essay. But the topic sentence is about the one paragraph, summary of that one paragraph. My strategy is that, I always, and this is my own strategy. I mean, this is not from the book. This is my way of writing. I can suggest you, and I humbly suggest you, is that, always write the topic sentence as your first sentence of a paragraph. Because then it will be very easier for the examiner to find out, what's the whole paragraph is all about. And another strategy is that, you want your examiner to read it fast, because you want to get an A. How to get an A is that if your examiner spend less time on your paper, the more chances are for you to get an A. I mean, this is a secret I'm sharing with you. If I have a problem with a question answer, then rarely that person gets a B plus or A minus. Now, one paragraph is equal to one idea. I move on to different paragraphs. Now, what I do is it calls signposting, because I have to create a link. See that there is a cohesion and coherence between the paragraph, because I want to get an A. And my way is that, my way is that every paragraph starts with a signposting, transitional word. It says For example, I say firstly, secondly, thirdly, moreover, however. If I want to switch the argument, I will say however, you know, furthermore, in the same way. Similar, just work on this transition. My another suggestion for you is that you look after this lecture, go through, Google different things, transition words, Google a topic sentence, Google uh, 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 thesis statement, Google these things, grammatical range, complex sentences. See, because the three things: complex sentences, compound sentences, simple sentences. These are very, very significant. If you know the difference, it will be easier for you to use the variety of the structure. So you have a good grammatical range, and it will be then easier for you to get good grades. So the transitional words, my friends, so that nobody will be lost if there is a transitional words. Now, another move on to is evidences. Again, I talk about quotes, other things you get from the books. Write down these things, underline the key words. Remember, I told you about that. Don't hide, don't hide that you get these words from which source. Cite them. Citation is another important thing. You should be truthful about the where you're coming from. Now, to move on to the conclusion. Conclusion is very, very important. I always say that after introduction, the most important thing is conclusion. So let's say whatever you write in the body, what the examiner will do, he will go through the first paragraph and then go toward the end and figure out that what's going on with your answer. Now, my strategy is that the conclusion should be a summary of your key argument you presented in your first paragraph. So if I look at your first paragraph and if I look at your last paragraph, there should be a linkage. So in other words, what you're saying is that, why waste time? Just read my first paragraph and my last paragraph, and I'm connected. Remember, knowledge is important, but the most important thing is how you present that knowledge. Now, my another problem, so this is the structure. If I go back, I would like to show you that the key things, and remember that I discuss these things with you, and this is my strategy, and I discuss all these things with you. This is your structure: thesis statement, division of answer into paragraph, focus on one idea in each paragraph, provide evidences and examples, keywords of your question, the language part, and finally the conclusion. Now, let me re-engineer and figure out. I have constructed this answer. Now, how I should prepare for this? What I'm saying, 1 week or a month before the exams. Select any topic and come up with 3 or 4 words. Number 1, describe, illustrate, elaborate, enlist. If you're a business student, these are very important. Why? Because you can first of all prepare your exam according to these words. Find out the definition of these words. For example, what illustration means. It means that you explain it with examples. See, what do you mean by describe? It means description. So when you are preparing for the exam, what you do is you create your own keywords. Then always think about a structure. What will be my first paragraph? In the first paragraph, I will talk about my thesis statement. In the second paragraph, I will give my first evidence. In the third paragraph, I'll give my second evidence. In the fourth paragraph, I will give my fourth evidence, third evidence, and finally I will conclude. So if I have the clear picture before studying for the exam, then what happens is that it will be easier. I'll say in the exam, I need three evidences. We call it magic of three. It's a Cambridge University style. Matter of fact, I should endorse, I acknowledge, I appreciate Cambridge University for giving me this vision of answering a question. I got that idea when I went to a university in America, Central Michigan University. I went there, and after 1 month, I figured out I couldn't cope up with anything. And I told myself, it's time to go back. I already have a great McDonald's and Hardee's, and I should go back to Pakistan, way back, way back, 20 years back. And then what happened to me is that, they gave me admission to a writing school. Dr. Haider Shah, it's a real incident. That writing school changed my life. And the teacher over there, Mike Lee, he told me one thing. He said, and he was a foreigner, Chinese. And he said, Taimur, remember one thing. There's a structure. And he told me that structure. He said, this is a Cambridge University structure of answering a question. So I'm sharing the same thing with you. And it's such a wonderful experience for past 20 years. English is my second language. And it's very hard sometimes to answer the question in a second language. But with this structure in my mind, I had no problem. I studied different subjects. I did my bachelor's in business administration. I did my master's in film and TV. I did my PhD in English literature. So I studied different subjects, different things, but I used the same formula in all those programs. And I must say that I salute Central Michigan University Writing School for giving me this idea, this structure. So what I'm saying is that when you prepare, so you know that you need thesis statement, you need topic sentences in your paragraphs, you need 5 paragraphs to build an answer, and you say, okay, let me go. So when you know the structure, you'll be stress free. And I'm telling you that with the full confidence. I'm telling you that if you know the structure, you got the skill. All you need is what? Knowledge. And that knowledge is easier to grasp because we memorize answers. We keep on memorizing answers. And when we spend too much time in memorizing answers, we never spend time on developing vocabulary and the structure. And if you follow these things, there will be no problem. So another important thing is that when you are reading things for exams, circle the keywords in your course book. When you circle the keywords in the course book, write down in your register. Okay, I learned these 3 words today. I know the definition. I know the contours of this concept. Keep that vocabulary going. You can call it jargon, or I don't want to use difficult words for you, but that's your vocabulary. In the grammar section, I would like to suggest you 3 things. Whenever we say that sentence structure is not correct, that you have a problem with sentence structure, it means that you don't know how to write simple, complex, compound sentences. Another thing is that in a sentence there is a subject-verb agreement. Just work on subject-verb agreement. You don't have to be a scientist on grammar to write good answers. Just get basic formula right, which is what? Which is the sentence structure, subject-verb agreement, and then the tenses. For the exam, the most important tense is the present tense. Just grab that. Just get the basic things about it. And for the linking words, you should come up with all kinds of linking words. With that linking words in your mind, you can structure, for example, in the exam, there's 3 questions. Use different linking words in each question. So the examiner should enjoy your writing. And my humble suggestion for you is to never vomit on a paper. If you write everything in one paragraph, friends, it's vomiting. It's not answering the question. It's just throwing everything and asking your examiner to pick certain things. How can he do that? How can he or she can do it? So this is the structure. This is the formula for success. Now, Dr. Haider Shah, any question regarding that?
Wow, superb, Dr. Taimur Kyani. Once again, you have proved that how good grip you have on your subject command. That was so nice to see. As I was discussing with you before going live, that got a lot of questions regarding the things, and the first question was the nervousness and the stress. So very nicely you have covered that perspective as well, and I loved your this vomiting analogy, the way you gave the example. You started it very nicely from the morning breakfast and then the lunch followed by the other things, which was so nice. And then really how you vomit, that's the wonderful idea, and how you convey your message with this wonderful story. And that, I think that's the biggest mistakes the people commit, the particular the students they do, that they come up with everything in one question answer, which is very difficult from examiner perspective, that because things are very much mixed and it's not clear. And I love the way you mentioned the thesis, one heading, how you are going to cover the thesis statement, the topic, the evidence, and the limitation. If you follow this formula, I think that your answer is going to be great, because everything would be contained in that, and it will portray the message. And you have covered very nicely the philosophy of the different things. For example, what is the difference between the explain and illustrate? You must know it. If you know it, only then you can answer it very well. One of your sentence, I loved it, and I used to say that don't get the degree, earn the degree. And you have mentioned the same thing, don't get it, earn it. So earning is something you have a sense of pride and you enjoy what you do, and you always proud of your work. And that's the wonderful idea. You have connected it very nicely, that I think that was a so great session, that you started with the first thing, how to start, and then in a nutshell, how you are going to organize everything. And very nicely, you have mentioned the point that if you have the information, but if you don't have the skill, how to structure it, again, it is not going to benefit you that much. So very nicely, wonderful again, Dr. Taimur Kyani. As it was expected that you will cover it in a wonderful way, and so you did the same job. So thank you once
Thank you.
again.
So nice.
And yeah, let me just start with the first question. I think you have already covered the answer for the nervousness and stress. Now let's move to the another important aspect, because some of our students are from the business school and they are very much inclined towards the business writing. The question is very interesting, and I would love to listen your suggestion to them. The question is, sir, academic writing is different from industrial writing. So, do you believe the same? Is it true? If yes, how to improve industry writing style or skill? Share some tips on that, please.
Actually, it's
Yes, please.
both writing are very significant. For example, let's say, because we always talk about process writing. When you go to industry and other things, that they usually require that that you know how to describe the processes and that kind of stuff. the real difference comes from the vocabulary. See, the book have certain vocabulary, and the industry has certain vocabulary. So this is one thing. The second thing is very important is that in academic writing, sometimes you use passive voice. See that? And in industry writing, you use active voice. So I'll suggest you that try your level best to come up with variety of sentences. Right? For example, sometimes you use active voice or sometimes you use passive voice. Usually, when I say subject verb agreement, remember I said you that this is another grammatical rule which is very important. The thing is that where you put the subject and where you put the object. So that's another big difference. For my knowledge, and to make it easier for the student, is that try to use active voice, because English is your second language and you should know how to place the subject and object at the right place.
Very nicely said. Thank you very much, Dr. Kiani. You have made it very easy for our students. Another very interesting question they want to ask, as you have already mentioned the technical words and jargons. So they have asked a very nice question, which is very much relevant. They have sought your opinion on that. That, sir, what is your opinion on technical words and jargon? As an examiner, is it likable to use multiple jargons to impress the examiners? What do you recommend? Yes, please.
Yes, see that everybody will say don't use that jargons and that word, it will make you make no, very important, because you remember the knowledge, there is a direct link between knowledge and vocabulary. If you use the words, Dr. Haider, which are very relevant to your course, but use the jargon from your course. Let's say if I have a course on for example, resource management, human resource management, I should use the vocabulary from there. That's why it said, you try to come up with 100 words. Every course, develop your 100-word vocabulary from that course. Be specific. Use this jargon which is from that course, because your teacher is good at it. And whenever you use this kind of word, it's saying that you're saying yes to him. You're saying that I know the basic concepts. That's why I'm using that jargon. So it's very significant. You know that you use them accurately, but use them. They are very significant. They improve your language. Sometimes they ignore your grammatical mistake because you use the right vocabulary. So I
Yes.
promote that.
Yeah, very
Don't
nicely.
don't yeah. One more sentence.
Please, please.
Instead, people will say things against jargon, but you are a student. See
Mm.
that there's a difference between a student writing and a journal writing. So use them.
Yes. Wow, wonderful. That's the wonderful thing. And I used to say in the different classes, particularly MBA class, that business student writing should be different from the journal student writing. And then the business writing students should be different from the researcher. The researcher, they write in a different way, the research tone and terminology. So similarly, very nicely you have mentioned that yes, the student writing should be different from them, and the role of jargons are very important, and I would say very technical in that perspective. Thank you very much for such a elaborative answer. Another question they want to ask again from the examiner point of view as well and the learner point of view, that sir, how do you see the role of past exam papers to better understand the your exam writing skills? Yes, please.
I think this is the most important thing. If you read the sample, work on it, the past papers, because they will define you the structure of the answer to the answer structure of the question. What are the key words? Underline them. Do you understand those words? What's the function they ask for it? You see that, and develop an answer. And when you develop an answer, then what will happen? You will command. There will be no stress on the exam, because whether they change the structure of the question, still you understand that what they want. That's why I told you that what describe means. What elaborate mean, enlist means, because it gives you strength before exam. And that's what I'm saying, that very important to study the past papers.
Yeah,
Very important to study the structure of the question.
true. Very true. Very nicely said the Dr. Taimur Kiani. I'm really enjoying the way you are answering. And we have another very interesting question. And mostly the academicians are being asked regarding that question. So the question is, sir, please enlighten us why the textbook English is different from newspapers writing the essays, the articles. What do you think? Which one is important to follow, and which one will give us the importance in the interviews, etc.? Yes, please.
For example, the newspaper, it called journalist writing. See, the book is professor writing. And matter of fact, who will examine you? The professor. So what you follow is the book. So what I'll suggest you that 70% follow the book, the writing style of the book, and 30% should be your own expression, because it's your, I mean, your answer. It should reflect your creativity. And so 70% follow the book, 30% follow yourself, because you are the voice of your answer. Always remember that. There should be because if you want to get an A, how you get an A? You get A when you come up with 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 outstanding answer, new thing, when you come up with out of the box thinking. See, when we become critical. So this is a myth. The myth is that never write from your heart. It's a myth.
Yes.
All examiner like you, they want you to cite a different example. For example, if there is a book, there's an example on Nestle, you come up with Salman suits. See, you are showing that you can understand the concept of a book with a Pakistani example. So come up with these unusual things. If you are in a business school, you read Pakistani case studies and see that you can cite them or not. So what I'm saying, that there is always you in your answer.
Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Temukiani. Really interesting answers you are giving. And that's the beauty of an expert. They always make things easy for the people, and they
Thank you.
squeeze the ocean into a drop so that people can understand it very well. One last question, which is again very important most of the time. People ask about it. So let's have your own opinion on that. The question is, sir, how important is to reread your exam paper? And once you find a mistake or the linking, the missing gap, do you recommend to rewrite it again or to have another words on that place because it would look as a mess? What do you recommend? Yes, please.
Okay. Now, the first thing is that when you know the structure, you need a very less time to review it, because you have a structure. Remember, you don't have to find things from a vomit. Now you have everything in place. Your first paragraph reflected your topic sentence or your thesis statement. Your second paragraph coming up with the evidences, and that sort of thing. You can. So first of all, structure make your review easier. Now the second thing is that take time. For example, let's say I have 40 minutes. So what I do is I spend 35 minutes in writing and 5 minutes is to review it. Maybe I'm missing certain things. Maybe there's some kind of grammatical mistake. So the minor mistakes should be removed. And remember, when you have a structure and you develop the content according to the structure, then you have a minor mistakes. There won't be any major mistake at all. The If you don't follow any structure, then you have a major mistakes, because maybe you have forgot the one part of the answer of the question. So that's why it's very important to follow the structure. Structure make your life easier. It take you out of stress. When you are in a less stress, you make less mistakes. But when you are in a panic situation, you create your own mistakes a lot just by panicking. So when my first word was that I don't believe it. Writing is a myth. It's a science. So when it's a science, it means it's systematic. It's one by one, step by step. Remember that my whole conversation is about following steps. So when you take the first step, then the second step, then your one paragraph, there's a link between another paragraph, then it becomes a story. In a story, there's always a cause and effect relationship because it's science. Similarly with your answer. One step, then the second step, then the third step, then the fourth step, and then the final step. So there will be a minor grammatical mistakes. And it happens to all of us, Maybe we use the wrong tense or something like that. We can correct it. Maybe some problem with spelling, maybe some problem with commas, semicolons, that kind of stuff. And 5 minutes is enough time for that. And if you have read the question 3 times, you have no problem.
Yes. Very nicely said, Dr. Taimur Kyani. And I really enjoyed this one because you connect everything with the back your slides, which you have already described it. And very nicely you have mentioned that how the reading the question for 3 times is more effective. And that's a wonderful thing. In one of your slide, you have mentioned that this is my personal own opinion. And that's what we have sought for, because your experiences and your wonderful knowledge and wonderful grip on that subject will give us a blend of understanding. And that's what you have given to our audience today. And the people who will be watching this video in the future, they will be learning a lot from this session, because very wonderful techniques you have mentioned, and as you have very nicely mentioned that it is science and it is step by step, it is systematic and organized knowledge. So once it is organized, you have to organize yourself in order to understand it very well. Once
I
again,
have
thank you.
one
Yes,
suggestion, a humble
please,
suggestion from my side,
please, please.
as a student of language and literature. My humble suggestion is that it's our job as a teacher to tell student how to structure their answer. I recommend to all the teachers, teachers in Pakistan and abroad, to try kindly help the student in that feature. Come up with your own questions and give it to them, and tell them to write back. I do it all the time, Doctor. And that I give a question bank to the students, and I say, keep on writing, show me your work. Maybe I'll give you, after the exam, I'll give you some extra marks on them, because the most important thing is that the critical thinking, it's the most important thing is the structure. The problem is that sometimes we expect too much from our students. We give them too much suspense. Suspense is not a great thing in a academic world. I think let's make their life easier in that form, so they can work on their knowledge instead of working on memorizing things. They should know the self-writing process, and encourage them for that. So my humble suggestion is for all teachers, uh, is that give some time for them and encourage them their writing. Don't give them harsh words, and try to encourage what they are writing, and help them with basic rules. In business we call it 80-20 principle. And the 80-20 principle is that 80% mistakes are gone with the 20% of principles. So you usually say that in business school. I borrow the words from the business school right now. Is that that in order to 80% of your sales come from 20% of your products. So same thing with marks. You work on 20% and you get 80% marks.
Yes, very nicely you have connected the business. terminologies and the business concepts with this wonderful session. I would say it's really interesting because 80-20 rule is very popular, and we used to teach in the business schools regarding that thing. And how can you have a 80% more functional than the 20%? But still, very nicely you have connected with this thing. And I think that's the beauty of the knowledge. Once you have a knowledge, you can place it anywhere and you can take advantage of it. And I'm just enjoying you are taking full advantage of your knowledge, and you connect the different dots in a very wonderful way. And I believe that's the a result of your creative writing and creative thinking, because you have mentioned the critical thinking. Yes, critical thinking is the first step towards the creativity, because that leads to depth. So very nicely you have mentioned how critical thinking is connected to the critical writing itself. That's the very nice thing. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Taimur Kayani, because really today you have shared with us so nice, so great techniques and tips, and your wonderful personal experiences with us. I would say very wonderful explanation and powerful content. Again, you have mentioned it, but with the very simple slides and the powerful explanation made it very I would say the superb in that way. As you know, at the end of the session, we ask our each guest regarding the your message. So, what is your message to the world as a teacher, speaker, author, researcher, trainer, learner, professional, and educator? Yes, please.
I say, just work on the science side. Never believe in myth. Always work on the model. And when you have a model, then it will be so easy for you to excel. And I say, never get discouraged by a bad grade. There's always a chance to improve your grade. And by developing a structure, you have no problem. You will get an A.
Wow, wonderful. In a one sentence, you have already encouraged and given them a wonderful way how to walk this journey as well. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Temukeli, for a wonderful message to the world. Indeed, writing skills for exam is a technical part, as the Dr. Temukeli has already mentioned. But again, very nicely he has mentioned that it is a science, and you can learn it step by step, and you can follow it step by step, and then you will be more successful. So pay attention to the structure and everything. So definitely we recommend our distinguished guest speaker that follow him through his research work, and you can email him for future learning and guidance. He is very generous and always ready to help the people. So, moreover, powerful explanation and wonderful content which the great speaker has already elaborated will help you to learn and develop your understanding regarding the how to write very well. So, take advantage of all the information and important tips which shared by the expert. Very wonderful things. That's all we have time for today. Thank you once again, Dr. Taimur Kyani, for your
Thank you for
wonderful.
you and your channel for this wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. And indeed, it was a pleasure to have you back. And we would love to have another sessions with you, because the way you conduct is so great and so nice. And we wish you best of luck for your future endeavors. We want you to be more successful, and because people like you are the real asset for the world, I would say for the globe, because the people like you are spreading the positivity and having contribution to the world, which is a great thing, and we feel proud of you, sir. And yeah, moreover, I would like to thank our audience who joined us. If you have any additional question about the information shared today, please email us, or you can connect to the speaker directly through his email or social media account. Thank you all for your support and liking our session. Stay tuned as many sessions are on the way. Please do not miss any session. Until next session, take care.